Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and this is a video for one of my subscribers who actually asked me specifically to talk about what kind of life review I had during my 2017 near-death experience. And my experience, I think, was a little bit different than most. I had gotten out of my body. I needed help. My guides had told me how to get help. I knew I was gonna die if I did not get help that night. They told me how to get out of my body and astral travel on command, which I'd never done before. I'd only astral traveled, I don't know how to explain this. I mean, I'd done it my whole life, but I'd never set the intention, I'm going to do that tonight. It just would always happen. And they told me exactly what to do. I didn't know what to expect, and you guys can definitely watch that video to kind of see what happened there. But I ended up getting up to, and I'm talking linearly, directions, getting up to and merging with that energy that's unnameable, known as God or Source or whatever you want to call it. And I merged with that energy. And it was the best way I can describe. I felt it was still me. I was in the vehicle of my personality. I was in my astral body. I could have told you, I'm Susan Dyer. I still was in complete awareness of my personality and my current lifetime here on Earth. And I was inundated by that energy. And the energy, to me, appeared, this is actually, a couple things happened before this point in the journey, but just to get to this point, to explain it a little better, I'm skipping straight to this point where I merge with this kind of father type energy of Source. And this energy appeared as blazing golden rays, and I felt a little bit like a tea bag floating in it, you know, viscerally feeling what God is made of. And there was one question asked that I would say was telepathically asked in what I could recognize as English. And it was, do you want to stay or go? And that was a question to me, meaning, was I done? Did I want to stay here? Because that was an option. Or did I want to go back to Earth? And I really wanted to return to Earth. And because I was still in that vehicle of my personality, I was still Susan Dyer, just in her astral body, basically being such a fearful person as I was back then. When I was asked that question, and again, there was no speaking, that question I know was asked telepathically in such a way that I can repeat it back to you, because the rest of our exchange was so sweeping and so intimate, and I couldn't give you a transcript. It'd be impossible. But I know I am meant to be able to recall this particular first question in English and say that. I was asked right off the bat, do you want to stay or do you want to go? because it was up to me. And being in my personality and being such a scared person in general about everything, I immediately went straight to worry that this energy known as God was not going to believe that I was serious about going back to Earth. And so in my own scuttling way, I thought, I have to prove it to him. I have to prove it. As if there was anything at stake there. It's so insane. My fear was so deep, even in the presence of a movable love, immovable, pure freedom, light and love. Even immersed in that, I was like, I have to prove it, or he won't believe me. And so I threw up my own life review. I wanted to show God that I was serious about returning back to Earth. So the first thing I did was throw up almost like an IMAX screen. I just projected this IMAX-sized photograph of both my boys, of my two kids, and didn't say anything. I threw that up there, and then I had the brilliant idea, what else can I do to prove that I'm really serious? Because I was so scared that God was not going to honor my wishes and just take me. So we do have a connection with our body when we astral travel. Some people call it an etheric cord. I've heard it called the silver cord. I don't remember what color it is, but I can tell you what I started doing. Like a ridiculous cartoon character, I threw up my photo of my children, and then, like a cartoon character, I started hand over hand grabbing my cord, trying to tow myself back to my body, back to Earth. And again, I know this is a specific blessing on purpose because it's freaking hilarious. But to have these human thoughts, to be so aware of my personality and my thoughts, it's awesome. Because I literally remember thinking, I had that picture up there, which, and we were transmitting the entire time energetically. And that transmission between God and me felt very much like, if you imagine a three-pronged cord going into a socket. It was that kind of exchange. It was just everything. It was just a complete merge. And it is that visceral experience that enabled me to come to this conviction of mine, where I realized there is no difference between God and me, between you and God. That's a whole nother video. I've talked about it a bunch, but anyway, I threw that picture up there to convince God, and then started yanking. And I thought to myself, damn, Susan, how long is this going to take? You don't even know where you are. How many years? It could take you years. You don't even know where you are. How long is it going to take to get back to your body? I remember thinking this, literally. Just like a lunatic astral person. Like God's not gonna believe me, and God's just gonna snatch me up and shove me in the cabinet of heaven, and my kids will be left without me. The whole thing is so insane. And it's so reflective of my own point of view. There was never any chance of my wishes not being honored. Because being in that energy, like I said, there was no difference. When we were having this wordless exchange, like I said, it was the most sweeping and most intimate and wholly effortless. It was like breathing. If you could imagine, like, breath in, breath out, like that. I mean, it was just a merge. And that's when I viscerally felt the nature of God. And the thing I wanted to share to you, that's a little bit of a reverse story of a life review. I was presenting almost as if I had a case to present. But the experience of viscerally being in and of that energy gave me a set of convictions that no one can talk me out of today. I lived them, I felt them, and I know them to be true. I can't prove them to you. But if they spark something, if they resonate, then I encourage you to meditate on it. If something's resonating, I find that if I'm listening to a speaker, if I'm reading a book, or if I'm channeling my own meditation, when something is capital T truth, I find that it hits, and there's no denying it. So if any of this resonates like truth to you, trust that, and then investigate for yourself. Because the point I want to make about that is there is no judgment coming from source to us. It's not possible. God, that energy known by so many different names that cannot be named, is only one way. And it's hard to describe in human terms. I hesitate to use the word love even, because love on earth is one of the most complicated emotions there is. And ironically presented to be basic and simple. But there are so many different layers of transaction between each one of us. And I don't say that in judgment. I mean, I love my children, but like if one of my children murdered someone, for example, I would still love them. But I'm telling you, I would also fear, well, what does this say about me as a mom? What will people think about? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the energy known as God is like a tree that gives shade because it's its nature. I've said this in another video. I think it's called Another Way to Think of God. And I find that's like an easier metaphor for people to kind of understand. It's like Mother Teresa can walk under those branches and take shade from that tree. And then Jeffrey Dahmer could do the same thing. That tree is not going to recoil its branches when Jeffrey Dahmer walks under it. And that is a metaphor I like to use in describing that energy known as God. The reviewing is conducted by us. It is not sentenced upon us by something like God. We are not put before a panel and made to defend our thesis. Do you remember those days in college? Like, it's not like that. God is only one way. And to me, and I've said this before, the earth word or the English word that God most felt like to me was freedom. And this is super controversial, but in that same kind of metaphor where, Mother Teresa and Jeffrey Dahmer would receive the same shade from the same tree. In that sense, like, I actually did have this thought that is potentially crass, triggering, and offensive, but I had it. And I share it because I know I was meant to share it. Why else would I have it? It's such a crazy thought, but I knew it was true. Being in that energy, I absolutely knew and actually thought to myself, I could have just murdered 10 people. And I'd be received in just the same way, because God is only one way. And whatever review you do is solely what interests you. It's you. As a dollop of that being known as God, as an eternal being, it would be you reflecting. And reflecting in love. Because all of our true natures, our eternal selves, we're all made of that same cosmic Play-Doh. We are all made of what we came from, which is God, which is such pure love. That's why I don't usually say love, because it's not like anything I could ever put to words, and that's why I say freedom. So I hope this takes the fear out of any possible process of life review. It is not done from the outside in. It is not punitive. It is not a sentence. It is eternal you reflecting. And don't forget that eternal you is love or freedom. I like freedom better, but love. Eternal you is not a school marm. Eternal you is just a bigger dollop of that energy we call God. There is no one out there waiting to smack your wrist. Not even eternal you. I guess that's what I want to say. So I kind of had a reverse life review where I felt like I had to present my case to stay. But I absolutely know God is only one way. And it'll just be you reflecting, because eternal you would always want to take the most meaning possible. This is a precious school we're in, and we only get 30 seconds. For eternal beings, one earth lifetime is so impossibly short. This is such a precious, precious time. Even though it feels hard and long a lot of times, it is worth it to just run flat out and go for it, because we are here for just an instant. And it's nothing but love from my experience when we pass. So I hope this helps. And thank you for asking me that question. I love answering your guys' questions as best I can, at least. Okay, all my love, take care, and please subscribe.